Far out in the wide sea, where the water is deepest, lies the kingdom of the Mer people. Now the Mer king had been a widower for many years, so his household was managed by his old mother. Also entrusted to the Mer Queen mother's care were her granddaughters, the 6 princesses. They were all beautiful, but the youngest was the most beautiful of them all. The magnificent seashell palace was the princesses' playground, but when they tired of it, they would tend their gardens in the soft, blue sand. Then, high above this fabulous land, a ship was wrecked, and a sinking treasure chest was discovered and brought before the Mer King. While her sisters adorned themselves with the glittering jewelry and rich ornaments that they found inside the chest, the little mermaid asked only for the white marble statue of a handsome young man. Her father placed it in the little mermaid's garden. And there she would sit, quiet and thoughtful. Many an evening, her sisters rose to the surface, but the little mermaid could not go with them, for she was too young. From her bedroom window, she would gaze up through the clear water at the shape of the moon. Her grandmother had told her that a shadow passing over it could be a ship from the world of human beings. How the little mermaid longed to see it for herself. "Sleep now," said the old lady. "For no matter what wonders you may dream of beyond the waves, you will never be happier than you are here." At long last, the little mermaid was summoned to her father's presence. The king gave her his blessing, and though there was sadness in his eyes, he released his youngest daughter from the kingdom of the Mer people. "Farewell," she cried, and she rose up through the waters, light as a flake of foam. A great ship lay on the waves, and she swam closer and closer till she touched its side. Above her, the little mermaid saw a human being, and though she was startled, he looked so like the statue in her garden that she stayed nearby watching him. He was a prince, and the crew was celebrating his birthday. Rockets shot up into the air, and she was so frightened that she dived below the ship. Though the sight of the beautiful reflections soon drew her back. As the last rocket faded, the sail was unfurled. But the little mermaid could not leave the handsome prince, and she followed in the ship's wake. Suddenly, there was a foaming and fermentation from the depths of the ocean. It was the enchantress of the 7 seas, come in search of the bones of shipwrecked sailors. The waves boiled at her touch, and the storm clouds gathered at her command. To the little mermaid, this seemed most delightful. The prince's ship, however, was in great peril. She saw the storm sweep it up and carry it toward some jagged rocks. Where it was smashed into splinters. She searched desperately among the floating wreckage for the prince. Die. Oh, he will surely die, she cried. Yet, though his eyes had already closed, the wicked enchantress did not claim the prince's body. For the little mermaid found him, and holding his head above the waves, let the current carry them to a distant beach. She turned his head towards the sun and stayed beside him on the warm sand. A bell rang out from a convent high on the cliffs, and some girls whose lessons had finished ran down a path towards the beach. She kissed the prince and slid into the waves. The girls stopped when they saw a body on the sand. The little mermaid watched as one of them timidly approached the lifeless form. When the girl knelt down and stared into the prince's face, his eyelids flickered. And he smiled at her. How overjoyed the little mermaid was to see the prince rise to his feet. But he looked not for her. He did not know it was she who had saved him. And helped by the girls, he left the beach. No tears came to her eyes, for mermaids cannot cry, and she vowed to return there until she caught another glimpse of him.
Don't leave your hopes at the bottom of the sea, but count on your dreams ending happily. Don't take the gloomy and pessimistic view. Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true. The rest of your life can be up to you. Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true.
Don't let the storm cloud the sky of blue above, but know that your life will be full of love. Don't think of things that are sure to make you blue. Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true.
The rest of your life can be up to you. Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true.
Yes, the rest of your life can be up to you.
Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true.
But the little mermaid waited in vain, and thereafter stayed alone in her untended garden, gazing at the statue. Her eldest sister came to her there and said, "Be happy, little one. Come with me, for I have seen the prince in whose image this statue was made."
Don't be afraid of what life has in store, but know that your love opens any door.
Who knows what wonderful things you can do? Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true.
The rest of your life can be up to you. Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true.
You can live in a world full of gloom and despair, but you know that it won't get you anywhere.
It's a wonderful life, now you know that it's true. but the way that you live, it is up to you.
Don't leave your hopes at the bottom of the sea, but count on your dreams ending happily. Don't take the gloomy and pessimistic view. Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true. The rest of your life can be up to you. Believe in your dreams and they'll all come true.
On a bridge over the stream that ran through the garden of the prince's castle, the little mermaid saw him standing alone in the moonlight. And covered by the quiet waters, she fell asleep, content at last. She was soon missed in the Mer-King's palace. Her grandmother set out to bring her back. And she found her by the rocks near the castle. How I would love to be a human being, sighed the little mermaid. But for that, you would need a soul, said her grandmother. When human beings die, their bodies become dust, but their souls ascend to glorious, unknown dwellings beyond the sky. At the moment of our death, we become foam upon the sea. Yet the Mer people live for 300 years, and each year is happier than the last. Grandmother, persisted the little mermaid, does not the enchantress of the 7 seas have the power to give souls? She may have, whispered the old lady, but no one would dare to make the terrible journey to her lair. Come now, my dear. We must hurry or we shall be late for the court ball. But the little mermaid could not forget her love for the handsome prince and her need to possess an immortal soul. No matter what the cost, she thought, I will seek out the enchantress. So she slipped away from the graceful dancers and followed the ghastly path to the enchantress's domain. A furious whirlpool caught her and dragged her down towards a lake of boiling mud. On the shores of the lake was a forest where the trees had branches like serpents. They would have strangled her had she not escaped their grasp. In a swampy clearing in the forest, she came upon a lighthouse built from the bones of shipwrecked sailors. Here dwelt the enchantress of the 7 seas. surrounded by the slimy creatures she called her pets. The wicked enchantress knew well the reason for the little mermaid's journey. "You wish to gain a soul and become a human being," she hissed. "The potion I am preparing will give you a human form with which to win your prince's love. If you succeed, then you will truly be human and a soul will be yours. If you fail, the dawn that follows his marriage to another will see your death." Your heart will break and you will become foam upon the sea. In payment, the enchantress demanded a mermaid's most precious possession, her beautiful voice. "So be it," were the last words the little mermaid ever uttered. The enchantress's cloak covered her, and in an instant, she was in front of the prince's castle. She drank the bitter potion. And now, with a human body, stood for a fleeting moment. And then fell in a swoon upon the steps, where she was discovered at sunrise. The prince reached her first. He took her up in his cloak and carried her into the castle. Because of her weakness and lack of speech, everyone there thought her the only survivor of a dreadful shipwreck. "You are my dear little foundling," proclaimed the prince, "and shall stay with me always."
I'm in a world so strange and new, a world so sweet and fair. My happiness will always be to see him standing there. The stars are brighter in the sky, the blossoms on the tree. I notice all these lovely things because he noticed me. Oh, the birds sing a little sweeter, the buds blossom on the tree, and my heart beats a little faster because he loves me. Though his love lies so deep inside him, yet true lovers we will be, and I'll spend all my life beside him because he loves me.
Every day, the little mermaid became dearer and dearer to the prince, but he thought of her only as a sweet, gentle child. One evening, as she cooled her feet in the deep waters, her sisters appeared and started to tell her of the great mourning for her loss. But they were frightened away by a ship which drew near to the castle. On board was a messenger from the neighboring king. His words stabbed the heart of the little mermaid. At the birth of our king's daughter, the messenger declared, it had been agreed by the two royal families that the baby princess would one day be the prince's bride. The king now sent word that she was of an age to marry. "How can I marry someone I do not even know?" replied the prince. "But I will return with you to meet the princess." "Then I may still hope," thought the little mermaid, "for he cannot love a stranger." "Are you not glad I brought you with me to see such wonders?" the prince said to her as the ship entered the harbor of the king's splendid city. The little mermaid kept close to the prince's side when the king came forward to greet them. They waited for the princess, who had only just returned from her school, a convent high on the cliffs of a distant beach. "It is she!" exclaimed the prince. "It is the girl who found me when I lay like a corpse on the seashore." As she looked up into the prince's face, the little mermaid knew that he loved the princess, and in the face of the princess, she saw that his love was returned. So they were married in the cathedral, and before dusk on the same day, the newlyweds set sail for the prince's castle. All night long, the little mermaid sat by the ship's rail, remembering the enchantress's words and knowing that the first sunbeam would see her death. As she gazed towards the east, her eldest sister rose out of the sea, her long, beautiful hair no longer fluttering in the wind. "I have sold it to the enchantress in return for this," she called to the little mermaid. And onto the deck she threw a dagger. "Take it," she cried. "Kill the prince, and you will be a mermaid once more." Then she sighed and was gone. But when the little mermaid looked upon the face of her beloved prince, she could only kneel and kiss him for the last time. She flung the dagger into the first rays of the sun and followed it over the side of the ship. Foam flew up from the water, but the hand of death did not catch the little mermaid. And she felt herself rise higher and higher until the clouds surrounded her. The sunlight blinded her, and for the first time, tears brimmed in her eyes. Looking down, she realized that her body was as transparent as that of a beautiful woman, who took her hand and said softly, "Do not weep, little mermaid, for though the prince is lost to you, by your sacrifice you have become a daughter of the air. And if for 300 years you strive with us to care for the children of the earth, you will truly receive the soul you have suffered so much for." Now, when a child is bad, the daughters of the air shed tears, and for each tear a day is added to their term of trial. But when a child is good, they smile, and a year is taken from their time on earth. The years passed quickly for the little mermaid because she smiled much more than she wept, and she passed beyond this troubled world into everlasting happiness.